I had a hot take. The Smash played pickleball in the airport, and I am just so freaking sick of seeing people play pickleball in the airport. I tweeted out, I think that the TSA needs to put them on the no-fly list because that's just so obnoxious. I don't even think Travis was in that video. I could be wrong, but I think that they should punish Travis for it. I think Travis should be on a no-fly list. So, we're always trying to help you up your game on the court, but, I've got all these YouTube videos, help you with your dinks, help you with whatever, but you got to help yourself with your health. What about off the court? I was super, super interested when we were approached by Superpower. It's a concierge health platform that helps you get real insights into your body with over 100 different lab tests, including blood work, toxins, and gut health. Players can use it to dial in their recovery, energy, focus, all of that stuff now. But at the end of the day, if your health isn't in check, you're not going to play well on the court, regardless of what drills you're doing, whose YouTube's channel you're subscribed to, what paddle you've got, any of that stuff. That your game starts with your overall health, and Superpower is a unbelievable way of figuring out exactly what your baselines are and areas that you have for improvement. I took my blood test the day after MLP Austin, and it did show that I was pretty deficient in a few different electrolyte minerals. And I felt like I was hydrating the entire time. Like I was drinking plenty of water, I was drinking some hydration supplements, all of that stuff. But obviously, it wasn't enough, and it could have led to fatigue. It could have led to not playing my absolute best. There were certain other insights on there as well where they recommended different supplements and whatnot. I got to talk with my own personal health concierge, so they can message back and forth with you as well as use different AI insights and trends in your own health to help you get the recommendations that you need. So this is really, really good. I think preventative sort of medical stuff. Now, I'm not a doctor or anything, but I've had a great time working with Superpower. And if you're curious about what's really going on inside your body, this is the best way to find out. You can check it out at superpower.com/start/dink, or check the link in our description. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, all right, guys, welcome back to the Pickle Pod. We got a decent amount to talk about. We had pickleball all over the world this past weekend. We had pickleball in New York City. We had pickleball in Newport Beach, as well as pro pickleball in Malaysia. We'll talk a little bit about all of that. There are plenty of storylines out of Major League Pickleball, a couple of interesting ones out of the APP, and then obviously we have plenty of MLP news to catch up on, as well as Erik Forsythe, the super sub, the hometown hero, subbing in. We'll get the info on that one. And we also have Sir Nick Faldo interviewed by Thomas to cover in this one as well. So still plenty of stuff to talk about this week. And but we'll get started with the APP because there were just a ton of upsets at the APP. So they're in Newport Beach over the 4th of July, and a couple people were quick to point out that Rafa Leonard, who made that great run over in San Clemente, beating Ben Johns, he beat me, he beat Noah Cleef. He didn't even make it out of qualifiers. We had Rafa on a couple of weeks ago, and I think it's obviously a disappointing result for him, but I think it just speaks to the fact that there are probably 150 guys, pro guys, maybe not 150, maybe 100 though, a ton that can have, good results against one another. If you catch a top 100 guy on the wrong day and you're a top 100 guy, like anybody can beat anybody. He lost in the qualies, which is obviously not the result that he was hoping for. There's just so much depth on the men's singles side. So something else I found interesting, and I would love, if anybody knows any more information on this, a couple of weeks ago when the APP was in New York City, Armand Bhatia was given a sort of preferential seating, and I think it was because of some registration issue with Jack Foster and whatnot. But Armand was given the 4 seed again, and he's currently, or was ranked, number 13 in the rankings. And I was under the impression that the APP was going strictly off of points. So I don't know. I think I heard a good amount of complaints out of APP players as a result of this, and seems to kind of go against what the APP stands for, right? That like everybody is equal. There's no favorites being played. So again, I'm happy to correct this. If anybody from the APP wants to explain why Arman was the number 4 seed despite being ranked number 13, I would love to know. Now, is he deserving of the number 4 seed? Absolutely. He's probably at this point, the 2 seed, if not the 1 seed, if you're going based on power rankings, but they're not, right? So he did back up the fact that he was seeded number 4 and not 13 by winning the entire tournament. He beat Chris Hayworth once again, who's kind of struggling from his own standards. He went about a year, I think, without losing on the APP, and I think he's gone several tournaments in a row without winning now. And then Arman ended up beating Patrick Kwaka, who had a nice run in the finals there. Man, lots and lots of upsets this week. So we had PK and Kyle Kazuta upset Will Howells and Jack Monroe, who I don't think have lost a match together on the APP Tour. This might be their first match on the APP. PK had himself a weekend, and obviously Kyle Kazuta's playing very good ball to beat Will and Jack. They ended up losing to another team, Tanner Tomasi and Richard Livernays. Richard and Tanner won their very first APP together right now, which is cool. It's nice to see a little bit of parity over there as well. Didn't have this one on my bingo card either, but Max Manthau and Christine Maddox won their first title over Casey Diamond and Sophia Suing. Those teams had beaten the teams of Bobby and Will, as well as Jack and Megan previously there. In women's, the only favorites that actually won were Jill Braverman and Megan Fudge. They beat Danny Townsend and Amelia Schmidt, 11-8 in the third. A couple of Australian players. Now, something interesting too, Amelia came over to the States last year, and it was a big deal because she was the first, to my knowledge, Australian player that was signed. This was before Tom Evans and Helena and whatnot, but now it seems like she's on the APP side. But Danny, I got a chance to play with and against a few times when I went to Australia in January, and I think that Danny is going to be a legit top 10 overall player. She has unbelievable hands, very good dinks, really complete game. So it's nice to see her playing a little bit more in the States here and getting some good results. I think they played the San Clemente PPA as well. I don't know how it went for them there, but I think Danny is a name to watch out for. Last but not least, we had Katarina Stewart, who won her first APP title over Bobby Ashiro. So I'm pretty sure we had, that makes 3 new winners on the APP Tour, which pretty cool. So PPA was also in Malaysia, which seemed to be a really cool event. I mean, it looked like the stands and everything and it was a pretty cool setup. Honestly, I couldn't find out a ton of information about it. I saw some social clips from the PPA Asia account, which, gave me the winners and some of the drama and the headlines and whatnot. But Yufei Long, who we had on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, she ended up gutting out a tough women's singles win. So she took home the win there. And then Jamie Wei, who we also had on the podcast, and her partner won the women's doubles title. We had both of them on a couple of weeks ago after they had their run at San Clemente PPA, where they beat Lacey Schneeman and Georgia Johnson. So it's cool to see them sort of follow that up and have a good weekend over in Malaysia. I wish I could figure out a little bit more information, but it looked like the stands were pretty full. Looked like it was a really, really nice setup. Saw a lot of good highlight points out of there. So I would recommend following the PPA Asia Instagram account to stay somewhat up to date there. I think they need to do a slightly better job keeping us up to date. If I'm looking for the information and I can't figure out how to find it, they got to do a better job. Maybe I have to do a better job too. I'll take some accountability for that. But I spent some time actually trying to find some of it. So again, I'm going to ask a bunch of you guys. You guys have information to give me. Let me know. Let me know where I'm missing some of this stuff. Now, getting into MLP, we had a couple of trades. So we had Eric Roddy traded from the Bay Area Breakers to the Atlanta Bouncers for Sam Querrey, and then Bay Area put Querrey on their IR and picked up Collin Johns, meaning that Collin was back in Major League Pickleball. Yeah, it's interesting there because obviously Sam Querrey is over at Wimbledon. He's doing a great job with the commentary and whatnot at Wimbledon right now. So it seems like the plan might have always been to pick up Collin there, and then the question was going to be, well, is Collin going to try? Especially, he wasn't trying necessarily. I shouldn't say that. He did a better job, but obviously didn't look phenomenal with Ben on the Hogs. They definitely looked like, I don't know, they look like they just don't want to play together anymore, potentially. Maybe that was it. But I mean, credit where credit is due. Collin led the Bay Area Breakers to a win over the really good Las Vegas Night Owls, who had been who they were number one in the standings and had been on kind of a tear there as well. We had an announcement that Jeannie Bouchard and Jesse Irvin would forfeit their pay for the matches that they didn't play, which I read through that. I think Tice tweeted that out, and I was like, I don't understand how it's news when players forfeit pay for matches that they're not playing. That feels like a bare minimum. Like, I don't know all the details of the Jesse and Jeannie drama, but if you sit out of a match for no good reason, like, I just can't imagine an NBA or an MLB player saying, like, "I got in a fight with my team, like, I'm not gonna play." I'd have to imagine that their team is finding the shit out of them if they do that. So, forfeiture of pay for matches not played feels like a bare minimum starting point to me, especially when you compare it to Wang Yun, who he was fined 50K for playing in those events in Vietnam. Now, on the podcast last week, we had Connor mention that Jeannie was paid $1.5 million this year, or per year, which is the same amount that the APP is paying on an annual basis, which was a wild quote. But, I guess that means she's probably getting paid what? I'm sure somebody could do the math on this, but 20K per match or something like that. So definitely hurts a little bit, but I think there should be a little bit more serious consequences for something like that. Speaking of which, it came out, it looks like Wang Yun is in Vietnam again, and rumor has it that he's going to be sitting out the Beer City Open tournament here. I'm not sure exactly what he's doing over there. I saw some Instagram posts of like a club opening or something or another, but I have got to be livid if I'm the Mad Drops. Like, you finally have a little bit of momentum from Daytona. It kind of went down the drain slightly in San Clemente, and seems like a good place for them to rebound, but they don't have Wang Yun. I wonder if they just have one foot out the door with PPA and UPA because of this fine situation. If it's a purely financial deal, I'm sure they could make a ton more money in Vietnam and Asia than they could here. If it's a matter of being the best player in the world, obviously you have to be here playing PPA and MLP in order to prove that. But if it's a financial decision, I think it's, it's not a dumb financial decision. I think they're probably correct there. Anyway, I would hate to, I mean, I do feel for the teammates on that one. Why would any of the other teammates want to play this midseason tournament if Wang Yun isn't going to be there as well? So they go from a, title contender with Wang Yun to a, limping into the playoffs type of team without him. And I think it's a good team. I really do think the Mad Drops are a good team when they're firing. All right, so let's get into some of the results from this weekend. We had something interesting. Yuta Funamizu stepped into the Miami Pickleball Club's roster and became the first Japanese player to win an MLP match, which is pretty sweet. They definitely played that up. I hate to say it, but he's not going to be the Shohei Ohtani of Major League Pickleball. But I do think it's smart to try and play that up. I was actually at the Brewers game yesterday where they played the LA Dodgers. Shout out to Joe from the Brewers for hooking it up. And the amount of Shohei Ohtani jerseys in Milwaukee on a Monday night was insane. So, like, they have a serious culture of supporting their stars. And I wanted to get Yuta on the podcast. Wasn't the right timing here. At some point or another, we're going to get him on because I'd love to chat with him. For those of you guys who don't know Yuta, you should definitely watch Yuta play. He plays with an extreme Western grip, and he doesn't change it at all. So he'll hit forehands. Here, let me grab a paddle. He hits forehands. little teaser. He hits forehands here and then comes all the way over to hit backhands with sort of that tomahawk grip. I find it super interesting. He's got very, very quick hands because he doesn't have to grip or change grips and whatnot. Super interesting play style, super unconventional. I think there's a lot to his game. He basically hits that tomahawk shot that I've been, talking about for forever. But he was filling in for Jay, and it was a pretty big weekend for Miami, who's had a good start to the season, but they've really kind of fallen off slightly there. Jay was out because he and Alexandra had their fourth kiddo, a daughter, his first daughter. So that was pretty sweet. That's a much better excuse than what QD has. On Friday, we got to see the new Carolina Hogs team. They recently dropped Collin Johns, picked up Roscoe Bellamy, and then traded Caitlin Christian for Etta Tuianatoa. So they had two new players on the team. They had no Collin, no Caitlin. So they basically, redid their entire, or a good portion of their team, and they look like they're going to make the playoffs now, right? Like, I feel like I just kept thinking that they were going to turn it on enough to make the playoffs. I can't imagine Ben being on an MLP team that's not going to, and I think that was big. They look way better. They're at least getting to pretty comfortably to Dream Breakers now. Ben is playing with Etta, which makes sense. Roscoe's playing pretty well with Tammy. They won a couple of matches. And the Hogs, I think, are going to end up, I would guess they make the playoffs. I think they'll be ahead of Miami, Chicago, and Utah, which I think puts them in the 9th seed or the 9th spot. So I can't see them surpassing the Squeeze or the Ranchers. I don't think that's realistic. So I think they're probably in that 9 spot for playoff contentions or for playoff contention. And then the Sliders had an awesome weekend. They went undefeated and actually climbed up to number 4 in points per match, and they're number 1 in total points for the season now. But obviously, the Flash, the Shock, the Fives, we've played fewer matches than the Columbus Sliders. They swept the Squeeze on Saturday as well. Now, the interesting thing, and we won't talk about this a tremendous amount, we'll talk about this with Erik Forsythe on Friday or on Saturday. There's a bizarre situation where Erik was called in after the Hustlers went down 2-0 against the Sliders. They're down 2-0 and then 6-0 in mixed. And Donald Young pulled out of the match due to a shoulder problem. And Corey, this is a bizarre visual. Like, Erik was an approved on-site alternate. He signed a one event contract with UPA to be on-site during the tournament. But it looked like Corey, the GM of the Hustlers, was just like wandering around looking for somebody to pull out of the stands. And Erik looked like he was just some random dude in the stands. So he got to warm up for like 3 minutes and fill in. So anyway, I want to talk to Erik a little bit more about that whole deal and what exactly happened there. Because if you don't know Erik, you're going to get to know Erik. Erik is a super, super cool guy. I've enjoyed knowing him for several years at this point out of New York, and excited to chat with him some more and see how he did with the crazy situation, getting like 3 minutes to warm up. So with this weekend's results, we had the Shock, the Flash, the Brooklyn Pickleball team, and the Columbus Sliders all clinching spots. The Shock and the Flash didn't play at all, but since some of these teams lost matches, the Hustlers and some other teams lost matches, the Shock and the Flash clinched as a result of that. In Challenger, Collin had a good weekend, like I mentioned, with the Bay Area Breakers. Helped them do a couple of different wins and a win in regulation over the Night Owls. The Smash stay in last place. And I had a hot take. The Smash played pickleball in the airport. And I am just so freaking sick of seeing people play pickleball in the airport. I tweeted out, I think that the TSA needs to put them on the no-fly list because that's just so obnoxious. Can you imagine being in an airport and like you just have these people whacking a wiffle ball? That's going to be the one time where I do complain about the sound of a wiffle ball. It's just annoying. So I don't even think Travis was in that video. I could be wrong, but I think that they should punish Travis for it. I think Travis should be on a no-fly list. And so, yeah, this leads into the mid-season tournament at the Beer City Open, where we're actually the reigning champs. This is one of the few events where there's actually prize money. There's this and then there's the playoffs. So we're playing for $100,000 on the line here, but arguably more. No, it's not more important. We're playing for 6 additional standing points for the winner. So none of the head-to-head results. You don't get any points from winning individual matches, but if you finish first, you get 6 points on your MLP standings. If you finish second, you get 4, and if you finish third, you get 2, which is definitely going to shake up the standings here. So Beer City is always one of the best events of the year. We also have some. I don't exactly know how this works either, but we have some MLP teams playing against the Duper College National champions, which, I mean, they're going to get crushed, but it'll be interesting at least. So yeah, that's what we have to look forward here at the Beer City Open this week. All right. So we also had a good amount of Q&A. So thanks to everybody who submitted some questions for this week. I'm going to start going through a few of these before we get Erik and Nick on the podcast. All right, UW Whitewater Tennis responded on Instagram. This is my coach, Coach Frank. He asked, "Can you explain the loss to the Speedy Sausage?" So, as I mentioned, I was at the Brewers game yesterday. Joe Swanhart from the Brewers actually came to the PPA event in Milwaukee, and he said, "Hey, I work with the Brewers. Let's do something or another." So he helped me throw a first pitch. I got to throw the first pitch. Not one that I'm particularly proud about. I did spike it, but here's the thing. I whipped it. The guy before me, there were 2 first pitches. The guy before me, he lobbed it in there. Anybody can lob it in there. Come on. I threw it pretty hard. I was happy with my velocity on it, but I did spike it a little bit. I'm going to blame it on the fact that I didn't practice on a mound. But anyway, he helped me or hooked it up with with throwing the first pitch at the Brewers game. And now, for those of you guys who don't know, Milwaukee also does a sausage race, because obviously in Wisconsin, we love our different types of sausages. We like chorizo, we like bratwurst, Italian, hot dog, all that stuff. I'm leaving one of them out, but we do a hot dog race where you get to run around the infield in a enormous hot dog costume. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you definitely need to look this up because it's iconic. They're like 10 feet tall hot dog costumes. They weigh like 30 pounds. And my buddy Scott from Whitewater Tennis, he actually was training. He created an Instagram account called the Speedy Sausage, and you can track his progress. He even made himself his own hot dog contest like training tool, big cardboard box. Pretty funny. We got to run that yesterday as well, which was incredible. And he was number 2. He won that one. I finished second in my I was rocking the square shoes. My friends said that they recognized me from the square shoes. I took the turn too wide. I took the turn around home plate too wide. I was in the lead and he just cut me off. I gave him too much space around the inside, which is a rookie move. Obviously better for the next sausage race that I have. So yeah, I think to answer your question, Frank from UW Whitewater Tennis, practice. Scott was more prepared than me, and he deserved it. Okay, so Sunil on Instagram asks, on a return of serve, if the ball clips the net cord and lands in the kitchen, should the rule change to a fault? No, but I think we should get rid of let rules. Like, I don't know. I think that those are both just dumb. I mean, I think that a let rule is dumb. I think that if the ball hits the tape and goes over, you should play it. But I understand the idea of the serve going into the kitchen. I get that one. You don't want the short serves. I don't agree on the deep serve or on the return of serve. Bianca Russo asked, "How are your calves so large, Zane? The people want to train like you for faster feet." I've got calf implants, actually. You know what? I don't really actually know. I feel like my calves are disproportionate to the rest of my body. Like, I got pretty skinny legs generally, but pretty big, like very big calves for my upper body and thighs. So I like to say I have the best calf to upper body ratio in professional pickleball. I would definitely ask anybody to point out who has better calf to upper body ratio than me. You won't find anybody. Austin Bricker asks, how big is your wiener? I was in the hot dog yesterday, is how I'm going to answer that question. I was in the hot dog yesterday. It was about 10 feet. The costume was. So that's how big my wiener was. Bad Pickleball asks, who's my favorite partner that doesn't play pro pickleball anymore? Bad Pickleball runs a YouTube channel out of Southern California. Bad Pickleball knows that it's the legend Jeff Warnick. Yeah, dude, he was just so fun to play, play with, play against, all that stuff. Jeff Warnick was a legend. Absolutely my favorite partner that doesn't play pickleball anymore. Tad Cameron. Oh, what's up, Tad? Tad did a clinic with Tad over in Atlanta a little while ago. So he asks, how many of the current elite pros will stay relevant over the next 10 years? That is a crazy question, because if you go backwards to 10 years ago, I don't think there's a single pro, to my knowledge, on tour currently, other than senior pros, that have managed to stay relevant. Honestly, I feel like it might be me to a certain extent, looking backwards. I guess I kind of started playing pro-ish tournaments in 2016, 2017. So that's almost 10 years. I mean, I'm sure Anna Lee will if she wants to. I just feel like 10 years is such a long time in an early sport like this. Um, Anna Lee, Anna Lee is the only one I would say if she wants to, she could, Tad. So, um, yeah. Okay, we will go over to Twitter now. Ooh, Nico the Lefty asks, has the number one women's singles player played, or sorry, has the next number one singles player played in a pro tournament yet? I'm gonna go with no. I don't know. It's hard to say if there's some in a pro tournament. I would say no. If they've played yet or not, possibly. I don't see anybody who's currently playing that really intrigues me in terms of being the next best singles player. I think you can tell from just some of the athletic traits, unless it's like a 14-year-old, right? I'm gonna go with no. Also, Nico the Lefty is needy and asked another question. He says, I want to hear about any media training UPA provides players. Sad to see CJ get blasted by Irina in a post-game interview at MLP. I didn't see this. So, to my knowledge, I think the UPA has like offered it to players. I think some players are going out and getting it on their own, but I can't imagine that's more than just a handful of players. Yeah, I think it's just kind of uh, go do your thing. All right, Hey Shay asks first, second, and third place predictions for Beer City Open. I'm going to say that we repeat. We love the Beer City Open. The fives are going to take it home. I think we're on the same side of the draw as the Shock. So I think we beat the Flash in the finals and the Shock take third. That's not too controversial there. Will the college teams win a game? I hate to say it, but I doubt it. I think they've got to be getting swept. Quite honestly, based on the duper disparity, I think it's going to look a lot like one of my pros versus 5-0s videos, unfortunately. I think that the level is just pretty I think there are certain players that can compete. I think that the level is pretty wide there, unfortunately. All right, questioning Teddy Bear on X asks, best way to play against two bangers, what strategies can be used to force a banger opponent to slow down and get out of their game? So, the way that you phrase this question is exactly what is going to cause you to lose. People think that you need to slow down a banger in order to get them to stop banging. So if I just continuously reset against a banger, what does that show them? Well, it shows them that I'm not a threat to them whatsoever, right? And that honestly, it enables them to continue banging at you. So resetting against a banger is the absolute worst thing that you can actually do. What you want to do is you want to work on your ready position, you want to work on your quick hands, and you want to counter those balls back. And I'll give you an example of, honestly, just me personally, and I've seen this a million times, teach a million clinics, get that question very frequently, and I do feel passionate about it, that the worst way to play against a banger is by slowing them down. When I first started playing, my dad brought me to the Cesar Chavez Center in Racine, Wisconsin, and I was a tennis player at that time. I walked in, I was like, what the fuck is dinking? This looks dumb. I'm just going to hit everything hard. I did, played against a couple of weaker players, wiped the floor with them because I just hit through them, and I was absolutely a banger. Did not hit a single shot soft. Would not hit a single shot soft. Could not hit a single shot soft. I was the epitome of a banger. I played then against some better players who just punched the ball back down at my feet and didn't try to play the slow game against me, and I ate it. And then I kept trying to bang and bang and bang, and I couldn't, and it wasn't working. And that's when I was like, all right, if banging doesn't just work, now I need to actually try and figure out why they're hitting these dinks and whatnot. And that's what forced me to actually play the dink game. So you've got to work on your hands in order to force your opponents to actually respect your hands and play the dink game. All right, so Eric Scott 7275 asks, how much does new paddle tech really affect an average 4.0 player? Seems dollars may be better spent on lessons than jumping on the latest and greatest Gen 3, Gen 4 paddles. I think if you're a 4.0 player, you probably still need to be replacing your paddle once every 6 months or so, and then you can jump on the new thing. I don't think the tech is changing so rapidly that you need to be purchasing a new paddle every month or two. So yes, I would say replace your paddle once every 6 months. You can experiment with whatever the next greatest thing is. I would say if you are using a Gen 1 or Gen 2 paddle, it's time to move up. There would be a significant advantage there, but it doesn't while the technology changes quickly, it doesn't change drastically enough where you need to be buying a new paddle every month, right? All right, Jake Galavar asks, totally understand if you can't publicly state your opinions, but I would love to know what your and other pros' opinions on whatever TF is happening with the New York Hustlers. Jake, when do I ever not publicly state my opinion on something? I'm offended that you would even say that, Jake. That's embarrassing for you. But anyway, I'm going to publicly state that I think that I think that the Hustlers did what they could given their budget, right? I think that they took some risks on some players, and Donald Young and Zane Ford are both high upside, or at that time were high upside players. They took some risks on it, but like when you're not going to spend any money, like what do you expect is going to happen? The Hard Eights didn't spend too much money. They're at the bottom of the league as well, but they're at least better than the Hustlers, which is why I've been calling for this entire year a league minimum spend. I think that you have, the NBA have to spend a certain portion of the salary cap. I think you have to spend at least 90% of the cap. I think we need to have something like that. Otherwise, you're going to have teams that just simply tank and there's no repercussions for it. So that's my opinion. I think that's probably shared by a good portion of the players. And this is no offense to any of the Hustlers players. The Hustlers players are doing what they can. They were set up for some failure, to be honest. Jag on X asks, I don't see coaches are teaching about mental toughness training, about to level up a game, like nervous and anxiety controls. If you get a good coach and you work with them in person, you will. I feel like I've tried it in the past on my YouTube channel, and unfortunately, that's not what people want in terms of like views. It's good advice, of course, but it's not what like performs necessarily on YouTube, and I think that's probably why. Ash PB asks, why hasn't Phoenix made a trade yet? Good question. I'm surprised on that as well. I thought they would have by now. Christian Bernardo asks, will there ever be a dominant team of two lefties in the game? If so, which discipline is more likely to happen? Men's, women's, or mixed? I think that could be very interesting in mixed. I also think that lefties are being improperly utilized. So right now, the most attacks are coming from the wings, right? You think about players who have always on the left side been taking that backhand out of the air, been taking the two-hander from the wing and speeding up. And on the right side now, you've got Gabe Tardio, Hayden when he plays on the right, Christian Alshon attacking from the wing. Dylan Frazier and Matt Wright sort of started that a little while ago. I think that the forehand out on the right side is actually more dangerous than the backhand out on the left side. So I personally think forehands out is going to be the future. I just think it's probably a numbers game where lefties aren't going to necessarily pair up with each other. There's still like, what, 1 in 10 people are lefties. I don't doubt it, but I would rather see lefty-righty combo with the forehands out first. I think that would actually be a better combo. Patrick Gumabao asks, does the UPA have a national team clause so players can represent their countries in international country-based events? No, not to my knowledge. I think if there was an excellent opportunity like the Olympics, I think that the UPA would let us obviously do something like that. For some of these other smaller national team sort of events, if there are any, I think that they would probably work with whatever that is to make sure that we're being paid properly, that it adheres to UPA standards. Kind of like what they did with the US Open a couple of years ago. If they're going to pay the appearance fees of the PPA players, like, then sure. And as long as they're not a competitor as well, I think that's important. Joel Hegman asks, would MLP be a million times better if your favorite team played at least once a month? Yeah, I mean, like having gaps in the schedule of like 2 months where the Sliders didn't play is wild. I think that's kind of crazy. I also think that we need to have a winner every weekend. So I think that every weekend of MLP should be a round robin with the top 2 teams going in for bonus points at the end and playing a final. So you can have your regular season, but each one of them has an actual winner as well. I think that would build some of the hype throughout the regular season as well. Mark Wright left a statement. No, I guess that's not a statement. I read it wrong. Should all net balls be do-over? No, none of them should, including lets. I think that a let is a ridiculous rule. Okay. That's all the questions that we had from X and Instagram. So thanks to everybody that chimed in on those, and appreciate you guys, and we'll do that as a regular occurrence. Erik Forsythe, dude, welcome to the pod. We just finished up playing a little bit of Call of Duty Warzone. You still got the gamer stuff on. You're still drinking your energy drinks. What do you got there?
Ghost Energy Straw Bango. It's a favorite, personal favorite.
We're recording this at 7 p.m. How are you about to crank a Ghost energy drink right now? Those things got like 200 milligrams of caffeine in them, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, I could still fall asleep like right afterwards.
That's insane.
It's a superpower of mine.
That's insane. Well, obviously, I wanted to chat with you. I've known you as just a cool dude for a very, very long time. Like, you've been playing. I feel like we knew each other probably since 2021, maybe.
Yeah, it's probably accurate. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like people in the know of pickleball knew Erik Forsythe, and certainly people around the Northeast area would know that you're one of the best players, if not the best player in that area. But you really got you got recognized this week when you had a bizarre situation where Donald Young gets hurt in the middle of a game. Corey Ben Bassett from the Hustlers is like, he did you dirty, dude. He did you dirty because it looked like he was just looking around for anybody that could play. And he's like, that guy over there. Like, he kind of did you dirty. But you did get pulled in 3 minutes to warm up and then played. Can you tell us a little bit about that whole sort of deal?
So I was the on-site alternate. They texted me the Sunday before the event asking if I'd be interested in doing that. And of course I said yes. Thursday went by, I didn't play. I was kind of, warming some of the guys up, the Black Bears I got to hit with a little bit and things like that. And then during the Hustlers, final match on Friday, I'm sitting watching because obviously, I know Corey, I know the team, and, I was just always on call waiting to play. And then all of a sudden, they're down 6-0. They switch sides, and Donald is holding his shoulder, holding his neck. I thought that they were going to just like forfeit the game, just kind of throw the towel in, and maybe I'd play the next day, because I didn't even know it was an option to be put in immediately. So
I was going to ask about that. Neither did I. I had no idea you could actually be subbed in the middle of a match. I thought it was the match was over. or that game at least if somebody was injured.
Yeah, I mean, Samin was there. Everybody talked, like, and that was Donald's mixed match. So I just figured, like I said, I was going to play the following day. But they were like, "Do you want to sub him in?" And you could start off like at 6-0 down, and I think it was helpful for me to kind of get a little bit of the nerves out. And I've played Andre in Paris before, not together, but yeah, like just to kind of work out the kinks quickly on the fly, and yeah, and then I played the next couple days for them.
But that's gotta be like, so you'd at least been like hitting previously, but still only you got like 3 minutes to hit when after all of this, right? Or how long did you actually get to hit at that point when they
Uh,
said, "All right,
I
Erik, you're in"?
I think it was less than 3 minutes because there was so much confusion. And I think they probably went to like commercial break, and so I hit like maybe like 6 dinks, like 3 drops, and then was kind of just like tossed in. I definitely, obviously, put forth my best effort, but I definitely would have, liked a longer warm up, as I think anybody would have. But it was a blast. And I made it on the memes of pickleball, which was a personal accolade. I reposted saying, "Now I know I made it because I made it to their account." But yeah.
And honestly, I feel like that was entirely on Corey. Corey did you freaking dirty on that one.
I mean, I love Corey. What you may or may not have seen, I doubt they showed it on camera. We actually switched shirts. So Corey, is a bit shorter than I am, and I got done more dirty by the fact that the shirt was not fitting me well, and that I was like playing. But no, it was a blast, and I would do it all over again, even with a smaller shirt. I would run it back.
Even smaller. All right, let's get Erik a smaller shirt. How'd the rest of the weekend go for you after that? You settle in a little bit? Like, it's still it's still not easy.
Yeah, no, the 1 game to 11 format is definitely like high stakes. I thought I did well, especially in men's mixed by the end of the weekend. We almost took the game from Brooklyn. I kind of blew it there a little bit, but to even be in that situation was huge.
Yeah, you obviously being like the hometown guy, like you had like a good fan section for you. It seemed like that weekend, like people were certainly like cheering for you. Obviously, you're there, and also sort of the underdog story too. So that seemed to be at least positive there too.
Yeah, and then obviously the crowd at the end was kind of torn because Brooklyn, and
Right.
I live out on Long Island, but I train in the city, I coach in the city, so the fan base was definitely a little torn watching that last match.
Yeah, so I'm surprised. I feel like the Hustlers should just pick you up as their alternate. Like you're obviously a local person, which I feel like makes some sense to have for the fifth and sixth person to, do activations or anything. Like I feel like having somebody like you who obviously can ball and like hold their own and play well, like I feel like you should be on that squad, dude.
Obviously it would be a huge honor to continue playing for them. They have the mid-season tournament this week, and I think after that I might be talking with Corey a little bit, but it would obviously be something that I would do in a heartbeat if it was given, the opportunity was given to me.
Yeah, because you signed, from what I understand, a one event contract with UPA. Basically, you have to be a signed contracted player to play in any of these events, and they signed you for one event. Is that correct?
Yeah. So as far as I know, that was kind of the first of its kind.
Yeah.
And again, I would do it again in a heartbeat. I kind of treated it as almost like an audition or a tryout. And I think I represented myself well, and I think I showed that if I was given the opportunity to pursue pickleball as my full time career, that I'd be able to hang with just about anybody.
Yeah. And so you're also doing just a bunch of teaching and whatnot around New York, and were you at City Pickle for a little while, and then now you're at Lifetime, correct?
Yeah, I was at City Pickle the first summer they opened in Central Park. Just was kind of tough with my schedule to go in like daily by train. It was a lot. I have 3 small children, so it was kind of a lot on my wife to be at home and getting them around by herself and putting them to bed by herself. It was almost like she was a single parent. But now I work for the Racket Lounge, which is kind of in that Hustlers ownership group as well, and I'm their head pickleball pro there out east in Southampton, which is about a 40-minute car ride for me. And then, yeah, twice a week I go into Lifetime in the city and coach as well.
Nice, nice. Is that the place in Nassau that you mentioned, or
No, so there's another club that I teach at there called Gold Coast Pickleball Club. And then pretty shortly, about 15 minutes from my house, there's a place called Pickleball Heaven that's opening. I guess shameless plug. They're going to have 16 indoor courts, and they're hosting actually the UPA national qualifier for New York at the end of August.
Ah, that's cool. So what exactly is that? At the end of that's the one to basically go to Dallas Nationals. Okay. Dang. That sounds pretty cool. And that's Pickleball Haven?
Heaven. Yep.
Heaven. Pickleball Heaven on Long Island, huh? Okay. Sweet. Well, Erik, anything else that you've got?
No, I mean, thanks for having me on, and kind of this was an honor too because I listen to you guys all the time. So this was pretty sweet.
Nah, memes of pickleball is cooler. Maybe used to be cooler. Memes of pickleball. If you're listening to this, which they're not, but they've been going softer lately, man. I feel like they used to be a little edgier.
I mean, I was expecting, maybe something a little edgier, but it was still good.
It's still good. It's still good. It's no longer great. I have to say it. Well, sweet. And where can people find you? Are you putting any content online, Instagram, any of that stuff, or is it?
I try to be pretty active on Instagram. My handle is eforsythe.pb. That's pretty much everywhere, but Instagram's where I'm most active. And I stream most of my rec games on Erik Forsythe Pickleball on Facebook. Those are usually at Lifetime. But yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wait, tell me about that. What type of viewership are you getting on that?
I mean, over the course of 2 hours, maybe a little over 100 people. I mean, it's mostly like Long Island locals will tune in for a bit. We stream kind of around dinner time, maybe just after. So it's kind of like prime time.
Interesting. You ever think about streaming on YouTube or Twitch or something, like throwing it on any of those other ones?
I would maybe try Twitch. I think there might be a niche market there for that, but something to explore.
Yeah. I'm curious about it because if you're doing it to one, why not do it to multiple platforms? You probably need some software to be able to do that or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that exists.
No, you're right. Yeah, there is. I mean, streamers that stream games kind of can do multi-platform. So it's a matter of hardware and software.
All right. Sweet. Well, cool, dude. I appreciate you coming on, and I hope to see you in some more MLPs. I've always had a good time chatting with you whenever we were at APP events or any other events back in the day.
Yeah.
And make sure to check out Erik.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so today we have Sir Nick Faldo on the pod. He's one of the best golfers of all time. So he's got 3 Masters, 3 Open Championships. He was the world number 1 for 97 weeks in the 90s. We had the opportunity to get him on because he's essentially Zane's counterpart with squares. He is their face of the golf shoe, whereas Zane is the face of their pickleball shoe. And well, we weren't going to turn down the opportunity because he also happens to like pickleball. He's building a court in his backyard. And we talk a lot about the parallels between golf and pickleball, especially when it comes to the tour wars. He had some interesting comments when LIV and PGA were going at it. Notably, he used pickleball as a comparison to take a dig at LIV. And, he's just one of these all-time great legacy golfers who is known for just being super brilliant, cerebral, and obviously he's won a ton. So it was cool to have him on. We figured it would be a cool opportunity. So hope you enjoy this episode. It's a little bit different, but we made sure to tie golf and pickleball together as much as possible. Plus, it's always cool to talk to a knight because he was knighted, I think in 1997 for his services to golf. So he's Sir Nick Faldo. Enjoy the episode.
Every time I sit and do a Zoom now, I get puppies on my lap.
Well, we have some recurring dogs on the pod, so that's
okay.
Cool. It fits. All right, I have one question for you though. I got to know because I see conflicting information. You ever play any pickleball?
Yeah, well, I have played a little bit, and we're going to build a pickleball court here at the house. So, yeah, So I am. I have played. I used to play tennis moons ago. My son plays a lot of tennis, but I haven't. But yeah, pickleball's a good game. I like it.
All right, how much are we an avid pickleball? I mean, you're building a court at the house, but are you playing pretty frequently? Is it sort of every now and then we'll get out on the court.
Every once a decade. Haven't got into it, but it'd be a good thing to get into. We got a great spot, a great view, and I thought that would be a great thing to have. You know.
Yeah. Well, you're definitely not the first golfer we've. I think we played a little pickleball with like Sergio Garcia, Phil Mickelson. I know Scotty Scheffler's actually like a pretty decent pickleball player. Seems his hand-eye translates well. Not all of them are though. It's definitely a little bit of a different game.
Yeah.
Are you more of a doubles or singles player? I assume doubles. Most people are singles.
Well, no, I'd probably rather be singles. I might go run. Yeah, my anticipation's always a bit slow, so I gotta. Yeah, probably doubles is easier. I don't have to run so far at my age. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Well, so I was, naturally, I Googled Sir Nick Faldo and pickleball, and the first thing that came up. Can you guess what that might be?
Probably badminton.
No. So, we had our own version of PGA LIV in pickleball.
Oh, really?
There was a tour. There was kind of a new format, team-based league that came in to disrupt the space. They were playing nicely at first, and then they were all of a sudden starting to poach players, exclusive contracts, all these, competitive tactics. Eventually, they merged. It was very similar, and it was happening around the same time as the PGA LIV stuff. Now, if you Google Sir Nick Faldo and pickleball,
that comes up.
Yeah, you have a quote where you are talking about LIV Golf, and your criticism is that the PPA Bristol, which coincided with a LIV Golf event, actually outranked the LIV Golf event.
Oh, yeah. That's my quote. Well, it was true, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, pickleball on TV got bigger viewership than LIV. Oh, that's funny how there's the connection.
Yep. Yeah. So the tour wars were probably the biggest story we've ever had in pickleball. It was over the course of probably a year and a half, and it was pure chaos, especially for people like us in the media. It was Major League Pickleball had come in as like the LIV.
Yeah.
The PPA Tour was like the PGA Tour.
Okay.
So how do you look at, now that it's all, the dust has settled a little bit, I would say, right? And I know that they're somewhat playing nice, but how do you look at PGA, LIV, how they're coexisting today?
I feel that they've separated, and there's almost, LIV are doing their thing and let them go and do their thing, and the tour's now doing their thing, and just get on. I personally don't think. Well, it must be so. They are really struggling to. There's no need to join forces. We actually don't need more golf. You're not allowed up there. We don't need more golf, and LIV pushes team golf with teams that you can't even remember two of the names. So, and team golf is, you need countries against each other. Like, you can't recreate the Ryder Cup. The Ryder Cup has got, we're 90 years of history now, and the passion that you play on that is off the charts, because you're playing for a point, not playing for money and all this sort of thing. So, hey, no, my bottom line is let them do their thing. Absolutely fine. And I think the players have lucked out majorly. I mean, you've got players that we don't know their names. They're playing in a $20 million tournament each week and more. And then you've got players who are at the kind of end of their careers, can't win anymore. And life on tour would be tough to you got to play really well to make a living.
Mm-hmm.
After tax and expenses, and then they're getting guaranteed whatever. They're going to play for whatever their contract is, 3-4 years, and leave with 10 times what they would make on tour. And then you've got half a dozen guys who've been paid unbelievable amounts, hundreds of millions to play golf. And I said, and I haven't moved the needle. I mean, it's really. I mean, every time I do a corporate gig, I ask the audience who watches LIV,
Mm-hmm.
and honestly, this is true, my numbers, but I'm at 770 people, and 13 people said they watch LIV.
Right.
So you can't buy competition.
Mm-hmm.
Competition's got to be passion, hasn't it? It's got to be you want to win a certain event, you want to win a certain trophy, a certain title. You can't just create that, just say, or just because they've got fantastic, crazy amount of prize money, that everybody's going to go, oh wow, this is so deep and meaningful. We
Right.
must watch. But they let them go and do their thing. They're fine. I don't know how we'll lie, and they have the most unique business model ever. There's no business model where you've spent, well, it was 6 billion rather, a long time ago when they did the calculations. Beginning of the year, you spend 6 billion and literally, I think they say 100 odd million had come in. I mean, there's no business formula like that. So they're the luckiest devils in the world to be saying, "Oh, isn't this great?" Because somebody kept, if that was anything else, they'd pull the plug after a year or two and say,
Right.
"Sorry, this is just losing money." So, wow, I mean, how lucky are they to be out there doing that? So,
Sure. Yeah. The tour wars in pickleball resulted in these insanely inflated contract values for
yeah,
players. It
yeah,
meant that there were tons of unestablished people nobody had ever heard of, all of a
yeah,
sudden making these, 3 to 10x, annual salaries versus what
yeah,
it was
exactly.
previously.
Yeah,
And
we've
now we're coming up on these contract renegotiations where, okay, we've got this average salary and contract value. It's about to like plummet.
Well, no, but yeah, exactly. You can't maintain that. You can't maintain that. It's like even the tour got forced into, suddenly find, how does a tour suddenly find 200 million, 200 million? We're throwing, that 5 years of that, that's a billion. So where do you suddenly find that? I
Right.
mean, this is amazing number now in the world when you throw out a billion and people go, it's just a word now, billion. Nobody knows that's 1,000 million.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just
Mm-hmm.
a billion. It's just a number. It's just a word. Actually, it's just a word, not even a number. Nobody, very few can go. That's a colossal amount, but we're just throwing it out as if it's so what.
Right.
Anyway,
Well, they've got plenty of money to spend over there. We'll see how long they're willing to spend it.
yeah, well, that's exactly Well, one day somebody's going to say, "Where's the ROI on this?" Yeah.
Right.
Anyway,
Well, you think that one day will come. We'll
you
see.
would have thought so. You would have thought so. It was more. Yeah, it's like.
So you
But they're the players are doing unbelievably well out of it until the bubble bursts,
right.
and who knows what. But yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
think in pickleball, it's given the opportunity to people who, well, they have full-time jobs. It's expensive to try. It's far more expensive in golf to try and go pro. You got to find people to back you. In pickleball, these players were entering as individuals out of pocket. These
yeah,
contract values actually gave a year or two for these sort of unestablished players to actually make a run at it. And some of them have emerged into
yeah,
the upper echelon as top ranked players. And now they're going to make a career out of it. So in that way, it's been somewhat of a good thing. But you did touch on something that I think we see a lot in pickleball. You said you can't buy competition, right? You can't
no,
buy the passion of the Ryder Cup. You can't
yeah,
manufacture it.
yeah,
In pickleball, we struggle with having tournaments or events that people care about more than others. Like there's no true major. You won the Masters 3 times, correct? I mean, not only do the pros care about the Masters more intrinsically, the fans.
oh
The
yeah,
Masters brings in people who don't watch golf all year long, and then they tune in for the Masters. Pickleball struggles to create those flagship tournaments where the players and the fans care more. What do you think are some of the factors for a Masters, for example, that make it just simply matter more in golf to the extent that
that is a very, obviously we have the history of the game in the Open, my Open, British Open. It's been around 150 odd years. The Masters is started back in the third. The Masters is, I guess, a couple of things. The fact is that it's played at the same location, which is pretty fabulous. It's an amazing event. They've done an amazing job of elevating the event. It's always covered by CBS. So people get to really do know the golf course. You tune in and you're always stunned by it, the beauty of it. And obviously it gets better and better all the time. Now we've got drone cameras up there. So, it took another leap forward in the last 3 years of, wow, look at the golf course, this sort of thing. It also has in May, we go all the way now from August. No, we go from now, July. The Open's in July, in 2 weeks. And then it goes all the way to August as the next major. So they've got all that time period to be talked about. The next major is the Masters. So the build-up is incredible, isn't it? And it always has been. It was always like August through to April. So they got 6 months of blooming build-up. Yeah, you put all of that together, and the amazing finishes, and then what Tiger did, and Jack and Arnold, and the history of it. Plus, it's prettier than Niceville. It's Perfectionville.
right.
A completely different style of tournament. No sponsorship out there. Unbelievably disciplined in so many ways. So that's why it's. It's the biggest media covered event in golf in the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody knows if you win the Masters, they know about it, And if, I'm very fortunate, like my battle with Greg, which is 30 years ago next year, so many people watch that and they get, because of, it's the Masters, they know the year, they know who. So they know all the facts, which is really very nice. If people go, oh, you and Greg 96, and they got all the facts where they would say, what year did you win an Open and where and all that sort of thing. So it has this amazing ability for it to be so memorable.
Right.
That's why it's and it just looks fabulous. It is a fabulous event, and they obviously unique and incredibly special in the game of golf.
Right. Yeah. Well, a lot of it comes down to the history of the game. I think pickleball struggles with that. When you think about today's pro game, the history really only goes back, 4, 5 years at best.
Yeah, well, you're new. I mean, yeah, and I'm not sure how you got to create epic tournaments. I don't know how you do that in pickleball. Because there's so much going on. So as in golf, you remember each round.
Right.
Everything's very factual.
Mm-hmm.
You shot a 67 day one and a 69 and blah blah blah. No, where you're a different sport, but
Yeah. Well, it's been around since 1965, but the real pro game only took off a few years ago. There's no historical figures that you revere, that you look up to.
But these things take time.
Mm-hmm.
These things take time, don't they?
Right. So one of the things that pickleball struggles with as well is making a product that's appealing for a spectator, right? So viewership continues to be an issue. I grew up watching, my dad would watch golf all the time. Now that's something when I was younger, I mean, that would put me to sleep. A lot of people say that, right? Like it's great to put on golf and take a nap, but somehow it's prevailed and it's emerged from that as a true spectator sport that people do want to watch. The hope is that pickleball, because the participation is so great, that some percentage of that is going to be captured as a spectator. And as long as that participation continues to grow, that chunk, that percentage of people who are going
Yeah.
to watch, that will continue to grow as well. But golf did a really good job of taking something that, if you're not a golfer, you look at golf on TV and it can be pretty boring if you don't really understand
Yeah.
what you're watching and the complexity of it. I think pickleball has the exact same issue, and it's something that we're actively trying to overcome, but no amount of camera angles are gonna fix
Yeah.
it, right? It's like you need the Tigers to kind of emerge and bring in those new audiences. But have you watched any pro pickleball?
Not any length of time. Yeah, I'm a TikTok addict.
Are you really?
Oh, I love it. God, I get stuck on that blooming thing. So when some of your famous your rallies will come up, won't they? Some rally that goes on for whatever 30 odd hits, and and you can't believe. As I was watching the badminton one the other day,
Yeah.
same, and then yeah, so and then of course you got your celebs playing as well, which is quite fun. They're good entertainment.
Hmm.
I mean, I think you've got. You've got quite a lot going on in your game, but I would have thought, yeah, whether how you can get a tiger, um, I don't know. It's a tough sport to. Yeah, I agree to get the mega excitement. You need some crazy superstar to come along and antagonize people.
Yeah.
Well, like Muhammad Ali. People you either love him or hate him. Some people thought he was the greatest. Other people want him to be beaten. So, I guess you have to have a couple of players like that as well. So,
Right. Yeah, it's another aspect you simply can't manufacture, right? That's
yeah,
lightning in a bottle.
yeah.
And when you see it, you have to seize on it. And there's a degree of luck there. I think we're still waiting for that
Oh yeah, to
to
get the
come
right
along.
person. I mean, golf they really only come along every 25 years. You
Yeah.
went through. That's what we were in golf. Jack, and then Tiger comes along as the real dominant players, and having the right people around them as well. So
Yeah. Well, there's also I would say golf has a very interesting lifestyle component to it, where when you're a golfer, I mean, it tends to be part of your identity. I think pickleball does have that, where if you're a pickleballer, I mean, you're truly passionate about it,
yeah.
and it's part of your lifestyle. One of those things is putting a court in your backyard or in an
Yeah.
interesting place. I was reading about was it golf in small spaces that you're
Golf in small
involved in?
spaces, yeah,
Can you
yeah.
tell me a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're very fortunate right now. Golf is really popular and really climbing. Everything from participation indoors, outdoors, um, you know, uh, resort golf is huge as well. And so it's really to capitalize, and the product has really changed over the years. Like, I put a putting green in years ago. I hit 6 putts on it. The ball went bounced out and out. Because I want you've got it. So now the product is so good that these artificial greens roll as good as or better than a real green. Plus the maintenance, all that sort of thing. So we're in a really good trend where people want to practice. They think it's fun. It's good entertainment, and so yeah, we call in that little division of my Faldo design company, because whether you've got a back garden and you just want one green, or you've got a little bit more space, you can have more tees, and you don't have to build golf holes, or maybe you do. It depends. You can do what you can have one green and lots of tees. That's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to put one green down, and I'm going to put tees all along the fence line. So basically, I can wander around and go onto a tee and practice different length shots, or who knows what I'll devise, where I hit one ball off each mat and walk backwards and forwards, so I can entertain myself. So there's so many different options, and we call small spaces all the way up to 12 holes, which might be I need 60 acres or 70 acres sort of thing to have you'll get a proper 12 holes for out there. Because I'm a huge fan that I think in golf this might be the new distance, 12 holes, because we're in a social time in our lives when everybody's clock watching, they're on their phones, they're doing other things, they're trying to cram more in. To say I'm going to disappear and go and play golf and be gone for 6-7 hours, people, the family are like, hang on a minute, what about us? But if somebody could go and play shorter courses as we get older, 12 holes is a great distance. I just played 18 yesterday, I'm shot, so it's a very in thing. And we got a good buzz. We got a good buzz going on. I mean, everybody I've spoken to about 12 holes, they go, "Oh, you're right. I get it. That makes sense now."
Mm-hmm.
So I think we will have. I'm making a prediction. Where maybe in about 5 years or so, we'll probably have a tournament on a 12-hole golf course.
Right.
Why not? And we got great history. Our Open started on the 12 holes at Musselburgh. The Open started with 12 holes. So 12-hole golf courses. So. Yeah, we can't knock it. Can't say, oh, it's brand new. And then people say, oh, no, that's not. But we can say, yeah, well, look at that. Look at our history of our game. So, yeah, I'm pursuing that, and it's happening. We've got people very interested in, back garden golf, call it, or golf in small spaces. Simply, it could be back of a restaurant, can be on a rooftop, any sort of idea. I mean, I think, as I said, it's because indoor golf, simulator golf is so popular right now because it's so good. It's everything from having fun to being informative, at the top, absolute top end of the game. Yeah, golf's doing well. Golf is on a good explosion, which is very cool.
Golf has a cool aspect where there are courses, across the globe that are famous, and groups of people will, plan their whole year around a trip to go play one flagship golf course or one golf course they watched a US Open at once upon a time. I don't think pickleball quite has that.
I was just going to ask you that. Do people go on a resort holiday to go and play?
They do. They do, but it's more about that destination because you can put a pickleball court anywhere. It's less about.
You've got everything else. The hotel, the spa, the restaurant, and then and they've got pickleball courts. Yeah. Well, we're lucky in golf where there's so many different styles of golf courses, isn't there? There's, I'm not even going to go and list them. There's everyone's literally different. So that's why people do it, and you can make you make an incredibly fun trip, whatever you want to go into Europe or Ireland or Scotland or Australia or South or wherever you want to go and play a tour or, and entertain yourself, play half a dozen different golf courses. And it's becomes a major trip in people's lives. Yeah. I can't imagine you'd move around. You wouldn't move around Ireland to go and play on a different pickleball court each time. So we're talking chalk and cheese here, two very different things. So.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm doing my best to draw the parallels. They do exist. There just aren't that many of them. What are some of your favorite golf courses? I'm just curious. Like in the US, what are some of your favorites?
As I said, we're fortunate. We just went to Ireland, about a month ago. I'm really lucked out with the weather. We played Lahinch and Ballybunion and all sorts of things like that. And where else? We obviously played Royal Portrush, getting ready for the Open. We're on our next trip. We're obviously heading to the Open in a couple of weeks. And there's so many great. England has lovely sections in different places up the coast or along the bottom through, around London, that sort of thing. Australia, I haven't been to Australia I'm going to get back to Australia, and they got an area called the Sandbelt in Melbourne. Lots of very famous golf courses. So obviously America's got tons, every different style. So,
do you have three? Do you have three like U.S. club courses that you would say are like these are my top three?
I think the enjoyable ones, all the places I won. Hilton Head, I always enjoyed Hilton Head. That's through the trees, as a short course, and then Riviera, in Los Angeles.
Yep.
That's a lovely classic old golf course. you obviously got the beauty of Cypress Point, obviously very private. Gosh, there's you blurt it out like that. There's so many. You're spoiled. You got so many
Right.
nice. Um, yeah.
I'm supposed to be. I was supposed to be on this podcast from Nova Scotia, so I'm
No,
going.
really.
I'm flying out today. I'll be going to
Yeah.
play Cabot.
How are you? Yeah.
My flight got delayed 6 times.
Oh,
Apparently, it's still supposed to go. It's still supposed to fly out this morning, but I threw in the towel and came back. I'm in New York City. I came back to the city. I'm just gonna fly
yeah.
out later today. But we're doing a golf trip to Cabot and
Yeah, but there you go. I mean, as I said, we're fortunate. We got destinations where people get amazing scenery and you know, different environments, different food, all sorts of different style hotels. Yeah, we're fortunate.
hmm So tell me a little bit about Squares and how you got hooked up with them and the shoe you
Yeah,
guys are doing, and how do I get one of the signed photos? That's really what this is about.
yeah. Well, I'm about to do them. Yeah, I've just had a box delivered of 1,000 blooming photographs to sign. So great. So I got to work out how to plot that. I got a lot going on right now, so I got to do that. Yeah, I joined the company. I think I guess we're getting close to 5 years ago now. It was right. Yeah, it was COVID, and so the funny thing was, I was exercising, and my trainer had given me some one-legged balancing drill, something to do, and I couldn't do it. I'm wobbling around all over the place. And so the funny thing was, I put an old pair of wide-soled tennis shoes on and did it. And honest, I went to my phone and I wrote in most stable golf shoe, and boom, up comes Squares. So I called my agent. I said, "Hey, get me a pair of those." And he said, "Well, it's funny. They just contacted us. They're interested in you as well." So that is honestly how it all started. And within a month, we were doing a photo shoot in Texas, and that was really the history of it. So that's how I started, and and I've used them ever since. And they're really into the science, and people thought that was again all baloney. Um, and as we know now, that the science of our game is measurable,
hmm
and we could prove that more stability in a golf shoe helped you throughout your golf. Obviously, if you're more stable in your golf swing, we got a big motion, haven't we? We've got to wind it up and come back and through. Well, if you can come back to the same place each time, yeah, I mean, and our game is really the same place. We've got literally a dimple either way. It makes a difference. It really does. And I think people thought, that's how can a pair of shoes give me more yardage? Well, if you just hit the thing squarer and better rather than a glancing blow, even though it's fractional, it makes a difference. So
Right.
I think, yeah, now it's been proven. Very few will knock it now, because the science of any sport really, it can get validated, can't it?
Yep. Yeah. And Squares recently released their pickleball shoes. So they've been working with my co-host Zane.
Yeah.
And, he was talking about the prototyping process where the team was super responsive. He was giving all sorts of feedback. They went through, 10 iterations and finally came up with the shoe that stands in contrast to a lot of, these legacy tennis brands or
Yeah.
whoever else coming to pickleball. And it's really just like a tennis shoe, or it's some adapted design that's not
Yeah.
actually designed with pickleball in mind. And Squares is
Yeah.
one of those like, all right, well, let's work with one of the top pros in the game. Let's
Yeah.
figure out how to make the perfect pickleball shoe, which
Yeah.
is sparing in pickleball right now.
Yeah.
And
That's
it is a
good.
different game. It needs its own shoe. So it's been cool to see
Yeah.
Squares come into the space and do that as they did with you in golf.
Yeah. So what's the most important thing in a pickleball shooter? Is that I'm guessing straight up, it's like stopping, isn't it? It's braking. Well, you 1 minute you're moving and you got to stop. I mean, instantly, and then yeah.
hard and fast lateral movements, lots of
Yeah.
of stopping and starting.
Yeah.
And it's like we compare it to like a HIIT workout, like high intensity interval
Yeah.
training where your
Yeah.
heart rate's going. I don't know if you're a Whoop guy, but if you've got a heart rate monitor, you think of pickleball as this lax game, but that stopping and starting, I mean,
Oh, no.
that's jacking your heart rate. Yeah.
Yeah, you're exploding all the time, aren't you?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's just wear and tear on anything below. I mean, well, the whole
It is.
body, but
Knees and hips. Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
have to go. I'll have to go gentle. I'll have to be minor B.
yeah. Well, when you're building your pickleball court, you should think about that. There's a big difference between a cement court and something with a slight cushion. You wouldn't notice
Oh,
the
yeah.
cushion
Go for
when
cushion.
if
Yeah,
you
I
were to
agree.
just feel it, but when you play on it the day after, it's a world of difference.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, good. Thank you for that. I will go for cushion. A lot of cushion.
Yeah, the more cushion, the better. I'm 32, and it has an impact on me. I mean, I feel it.
Yeah.
I can
Okay.
definitely tell the difference.
I got head
Well,
covers older than you.
yeah, that's probably true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was watching some clips of you playing and winning before I was born. So
Yeah.
that's got to be true. All right, I have a question for you. It's a personal question. You ever played the Country Club of Detroit?
Can I go to Detroit? No, was that the one for the Rocket Mortgage?
No, that's the Detroit Golf Club. So Country Club of Detroit is in Grosse Pointe, Michigan.
Probably not. I don't think so. No.
Yeah, I think they've had a couple U.S. amateur. Arnold Palmer won his U.S. amateur there, which
Really?
sort of
Okay.
springboarded his career, obviously.
No, I don't think I've done that one. No.
All right, add it to the list. That's how
It's good, is it? Okay. Yeah.
Well, cool. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on. It was very interesting to chat with you. I gotta repack all my stuff and head to Nova Scotia for
Head to Nova Scotia. What's the weather like up there?
I think it's like 60s, low 60s,
Nice.
mid 60s. Yeah, it's not bad. They sent me the weather in Celsius, which is 20s, 30s, so I was a little concerned, and then I realized you got to do the conversion.
Okay, got to educate you. Yeah.
Right.
All good.
That'll be good. Cool.
All right.
Sir Nick, thank you for coming on.
All right, sure, pleasure.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, rather had fun.